Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Sincere from the Standard 81 podcast, and I am back again with another episode of Monday Memoirs. But before we get started, let's go ahead and catch a quick 30-second break to get our minds right, and we'll get into it. Here we go. And we are back. Hey, what's up? How y'all feeling? I hope y'all are feeling good. It is another week. I enjoyed my weekend. I did church. I normally do church. I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, everything is good, man. Yeah, who cares? Um, quick PSA before we get into this. If you have not seen or heard, and right now I'm gonna talk to my Christians. If you have not seen or heard, Christians, it's time for us to get our minds right. It is time for us to get our actions straight because um, some terrorist organizations within Iran have now sent a bombing drone or some kind of drone over to U.S. soil within the state of Israel. It has caused um, quite the disaster over there, killing two people and hurting a lot more. These are the signs of the times, man. And the things that we have been holding on to for years within our generations, within our cultures, uh, right now, I would say we need to refocus in on what it is that we're doing. I know this is not what this particular stream is about, but I just wanted to put that out there. And for all of you that are not Christians and you give a care about any of this, um, I would say to you this: reevaluate what it is you are pursuing, because in my estimated opinion, I think things may be getting a lot worse than better as far as um, some of the things that are coming around the corner for us as a country. So just prepare yourself, get your minds right, check yourself, give yourself some self evaluations, all that good stuff. Anyways, let's move on. Um, Monday memoir. I want to talk about um my insecurities and fears. And why do I want to talk about it? Because for so many people, they have insecurities and fears. And we have been told as a populace that having insecurities and fears are something to be deemed as not good. Can't find my words, my vocabulary is leaving me. Not good. We shouldn't even latch on to that. But I'm here to tell you today, if you don't acknowledge it and you can't come to grips with the fact that you have them, you are delusional. You are delusional because it is some of those insecurities and it is some of those fears that shape who you are today. And while some of them are rational and some of them are irrational, Some of them are used as protective measurements to help you grow and change. Now, I'm going to mention mine, but I'm hoping in mentioning mine, um, it will help you begin to evaluate yours and look at your fears and insecurities in different lights and be able to go back to God and ask Him to either A, fix it or figure out how these particular insecurities and fears play a role in your life. Let's go through it. So, one of my biggest insecurities is how I look. And as you can see, the bottom row of my teeth are not the straightest, which sometimes bothers me, sometimes doesn't. As far as my body size, I am not a Greek god. I can afford to lose a lot more weight. I look all right for who I am, but um, I am not a small guy. I am more stocky, and I'll stand up to kind of show you all what I look like. So this is me. Like a football guy. And at times, I wish I was smaller. I wish I was skinnier. And people might say, "Man, wow, that's not too bad." You're being irrational. You know, there are people who are bigger than you that have more self-confidence. It's an insecurity for me. It's one that I can change, and I know I can change because I've done it several times. But it does make me feel insecure. It makes me think that people are watching me. But here's what I've learned with that. Even if I do change it, and even if I do change my appearance, if I go get my teeth fixed, get veneers, get braces, whatever the case may be, and I get down to this Greek god physique, right? This does not mean that everybody all of a sudden is going to like me. Which brings me to one of my biggest fears, which is not being accepted and being approved by people, which I think is a big struggle for all of us nowadays. This is why you see young ladies getting all this work done, not only to win the approval of men, but to win the approval of their comrades and be in competition of who looks better. Because in a funny sort of sense, we have these irrational insecurities and fears. And oftentimes they're generated in our own mind when people don't even really care about us all that much. But some of them lead us to make great changes, right? Like in particular, if I was a 300-pound man, that's no longer an irrational fear. That's no longer just an insecurity. That's a health issue. And I know that there is the fat acceptance community out there, but as somebody who has studied, who's been a personal trainer and has studied health, I know that after you get to a certain weight, irregardless of how you feel and how you look on the outside, it is not good for your body internally or externally. Your body is constructed to be at a certain weight. It has a maximum in which it can function properly. You begin to handicap yourself at a certain point. So, having said that, I believe that fears and insecurities can lead to good changes, but also it can lead to irrational thinking and moving too quickly. Here's what I mean. oftentimes, because of our irrational fears and insecurities, we'll go out and do things and get stuff done, and not think about how is this going to look years later, or how am I going to like this once I get this done? Will people really notice the changes, or will I be looked at the same? Because sometimes the reason that you're looked at the same is not because what you externally look like, it's because of interpersonal work. And a lot of our insecurities and fears are because of internal work. Having said that, I can't tell you about irrational fears, like fears of spiders or bugs or whatever the case may be. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the mental fears that we have, the mental insecurities, whether they be personal flaws or trauma that we had on our lives that make us act and think a certain way. That's what I'm talking about. Finish my call. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, oh, I'm scared of dogs. I don't know what to tell you there, because one day a dog bit me, and then I don't know what to tell you there. Dogs bite. Get around more dogs so you can feel more comfortable around them. That's all I can tell you. That's all I can tell you in that particular case. But when you say you've got the fear that I will never make it, maybe it's time to stop and look at what you've already accomplished. Even the small stuff. Like so many, okay. At one time, I used to hate the fact, and I'm going to tell you this here on the internet right now. At one time, I used to hate the fact that I dropped out of college. And then I went back to college again and tried it all over, and then finally decided college ain't for me. College is not something. I wish I would have learned a lot more things so that I could have done things differently, but unfortunately I didn't. And this is kind of how my life is playing out. It's nobody's fault but my own. But I will say this: had I been able to learn the things that I learned now, I would have probably done things differently. But needless to say, I used to be ashamed of the fact that I didn't finish college, because everybody out there I knew that was influential or successful had been to either 4 years of college and completed their bachelor's degree, or 6 years or however many years, and they've got either bachelor's, doctorates, PhDs. They have all these different degrees, but then to come to find that some of them are not even working in the fields that they studied for. I'm not saying that's everybody. They did all that work only to be managers at a filling station or a small company, making decent money, but nowhere in the qualifications for that job did it say you had to have a master's degree or a PhD in socioeconomic studies or in business marketing. Now, I know a lot more jobs nowadays are requiring at least a bachelor's degree. I do understand that in order to get into management, but you don't even need to have a bachelor's degree in a particular field. They just want you to have a bachelor's degree. Which leads me to this point: what cannot be accomplished? When we start fearing some of these things and we start thinking about some of these things, we start seeing how ridiculous it actually is. The amount of intelligence you have is not based upon the education you have. And you say, how can you say that? No, I'm gonna use myself as an example. I know a lot about a lot of things. I'm able to do a lot of things. I've accomplished a lot of things. Some to small degrees, some to great degrees. But nonetheless, I have never had any true formal education in anything. I've been self-taught either through hands-on experience or looking at videos, reading books, or doing whatever it takes in order to accomplish my goals. This is not something that is unaccomplishable or unattainable. The problem is a lot of times we like to say that if we don't have those things in which people feel are important, somehow we're losing, which is untrue, which makes us fearful of what we can accomplish, which makes us standoffish to be able to talk to people. And I'm not saying to anybody that the road I'm taking is any easier, because it's not. It's probably harder, but it makes it to where now you know you can accomplish stuff. I'm going to give you a well-known example. Mark Zuckerberg, the guy who invented Facebook, had a similar thing to what Tinder is now. That's what it started out. If you watch, I forget the name of that movie, but it's about the creators of Facebook and all the stuff that they went through. He had a similar app that's similar to Tinder, and somehow he said it should be more. It evolved into what it is now, which is Facebook. I think it's called the Social Network. I'm pretty sure it's called the Social Network. And now look at it. A college dropout who decided to make a social app in which people could interact with each other is now a multimillionaire. And I'm not saying all this so that people can say, oh, your irrational fears and your insecurities, if you trade them in and you do things go against the grain, you'll become a multimillionaire, because this is not about money. This is about mindset. This is about knowing that you have these particular fears, knowing that you have these insecurities, knowing that you have these things, and saying, how am I going to address these things? Am I going to react to them irrationally, or am I going to address them in a way that makes sense so I know how to fix them and address them moving forward in my life? Have these fears and these insecurities taught me anything that I should glean and hold on to moving forward, or is this something that I completely need to let go? Let's take a legitimate fear, right? Sometimes the fear of heights can save you. Right? People who like to do daring things, people who do parkour and stuff like that, and jump off of buildings and stuff like that, as safe as it can, people try to make these different things as safe as they can possibly be. But here's the logic behind it. No matter how safe you can possibly make it, there is still a chance you could perish from doing that, because gravity still exists regardless of how skilled or how technical something is when you do it. So the fact that you have a fear of something being unsafe has saved your life. I know that's a bit extreme, but I wanted to put it into context of how something can save your life. Okay, so let's put that same rational thinking into dating, right? We say red flags. What are red flags? Red flags are indications of things that you have seen, fears that you have that lead you to look at people's particular characteristics and say, mm-mm, that's not something I'm willing to deal with. Because in the past, it hasn't been something that has led to anything good. Am I lying to you? I don't think I am. I think I hit it right on the nose. Because if we went into everything blindly, and said, we just going to let things happen the way they happen, whatever, wooty, wooty, woo, we would never, ever get to a place of learning and wisdom. And we would always run into the same issues. Now, having said that, I can go ahead and flip that same logic to negative things. Sometimes we over analyze things, which I hear a lot of people say, I overthink. We got to realize that, hey, nobody is perfect. Nobody is perfect. Everybody's going to have their share of red flags. But the idea is, what can you put up with and what can you not? What are you willing to compromise with versus what are you saying, no, that's a no-go? Those are fears. We don't like to call them fears. We name things something else, but those are fears. And we all have them. And we need to start embracing the fact that we have fears, we have insecurities. I have them, I have a lot of them. The difference between me and maybe somebody else is how I've chosen to deal with those. Some things, some of my fears and insecurities, I had to go back to people and talk to them and tell them exactly what's on my mind. A lot of, well, the majority, I ain't going to even say all, let me correct that one more time. All of them I have had to take to God and say, God, I have this particular fear. I have these insecurities. Help me to fix these things or show me how to walk using these things to their full capability to keep me out of trouble or to keep me away from things that I know I shouldn't have. And then in other ways, it shows you how to act when things happen. We can't push these things aside and act as though because we have insecurities and different fears, all of a sudden we are less than a less of a person. God installed that sense in you to make sure that you have the common sense in order to stay away from certain things and know how to move properly. So sometimes your insecurities and your fears are a learning lesson. Sometimes they will motivate you to do something different. If you're worried about being broke, you will make sure to get your butt up and hustle in order to make sure you're never broke. if you're somebody that's been through bad relationships, you're going to make sure that you use that fear to make sure you check somebody out, to make sure that things are good before you enter another relationship. If you are overweight and you're insecure about that, you're going to make the right decision as far as food and working out in order to change your outward appearance. So many examples. But I'll say this, and I'm gonna be done. Even though I have my insecurities and fears, and you have yours, this does not make us bad people. This does not make us inferior. This does not make us unable. This does not make us um just trying to get the word, useless. And this does not make us weak. It makes us people that have things to deal with just like everybody else. I am dealing with my insecurities and fears, and I would suggest that you deal with yours as well. But know that just because you have them, it doesn't make you less than. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Guys, check out my Instagram at Sincere the Artist. I've linked that. I've linked a ton of things in my bio now, or on the link part. Check out my TikTok at the Standard 81 Podcast. You can also check me out on Facebook as well. I've got all that. If you want to email me at Sincere the Artist. All that is there. Like, share, and subscribe. Send this out to people that you know struggle with insecurities and fears. We all have them. We all need to grow from them. We all need to learn how to adjust to them. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.